Good afternoon, everyone. It is Rollie, and welcome to another Chatting with Wisdom. And so typically Chatting with Wisdoms are done on Wednesdays. However, due to some family emergencies, we needed to make some changes for myself. And so I am so grateful that Bernadette was able to accommodate. So Chatting with Wisdom is all about being able to bring inspiring women to everyone here so that we can share in the knowledge and in the wisdom that each person imparts. So I'm going to introduce to you Bernadette. So Bernadette Bruckner is the creative all-rounder, worked successfully in different working fields in Austria and abroad. By her interest in corporate communications, marketing, human resources, and many other areas of business, she has appropriated an enormous amount of knowledge over more than 30 years. Numerous educations at international top trainers like Richard Bandler, Robert Dilts, Martina and Clinton Swaine, internationally active as a holistic trainer in health, nutrition, and mental health with exceptional holistic resilience methods, founder of the IIM, intuitive mentoring method, and the 1 minute coaching to go, a further development of NLP and ORINITION, which says flourish soul, mind, body. So perhaps she can explain that one in a second.
Yes.
An innovative nutrition work of remembering our own body intelligence, successfully master degree in health management with a focus on public health, international PhD and research in the fields of health communication with focus on psycholinguistics combined with neuroplastics and neuroplasticity and health economics, international publisher and author of numerous books in different languages, Global Author Award 2018, nominee NLP Award in Research 2019 in London, and 2021 opening her own research center for intuitive science in Austria, Holistic Score Factory, and the Health Nutrition Literacy Lab. So welcome. There is lots and lots of things, as you shared, that there's lots of things that are on your plate that you have done over the years. So tell me a little bit more about that one that I was stumbling on.
First, welcome from Austria. And I'm totally thrilled being a part of your chatting, and also that we can talk about my PhD topic, health framing. And ORINITION, it's like original nutrition, the wording. Okay. And the other one is nourishing, flourishing, soul, mind, and body. Okay. Because most of us, we got conditioned and learned what is good for us, for our body, what is healthy, which kind of nutrition and diet we should take. And yet it's just overtaken from others. And I'm like, no. What about if we listen to our body, and if we actually eat and drink and overtake things what's actually good for us and nurturing. So when you nurture yourself, you flourish. And that's the background of the word game.
Beautiful. So thank you. And I really love that, because it really is different for each one of us as to what it takes to be able to nourish ourselves. And so when we try and fit ourselves into a box, we're not very successful. In a lot of times we're not very successful, are we?
No, and we get so many conditions. I remember when I was a child in Austria, it's like, apple strudel and like schnitzel, that's like things you have to eat it. And my father is a war child and my mom is a post-war child, and for them it's like you have to eat because you have no idea when you get the next food thing. And always they said to us, you finish your food. And it's like I was overweight, and I became anorexia nervosa. So I got an eating disorder. Yep. And finally, I began to question everything what I learned about food, everything what I learned about what's actually healthy, what's nutritious, and all the things. And I begin to listen to my body. I don't know how's it with you, but when I was a teen, I was like a little bit more weight on myself, and I heard so many hurtful words. You're too fat, you're ugly, you're whatever, being in another person's view, but it shapes the world.
It does.
And you just either stop or emotional eating. Everybody of us knows that. And I'm the person, when I'm into stress and when other hurts me, I just stop eating. And I was my lessest weight was 43 kilos, and this is not healthy.
No.
And this is something what I said, no. This everyone want to take away my space and who I am. And I'm like, I want to get my space back, and I want to be who I truly want to be, and saying stop. And I'm pretty sure a lot of women out there, we don't learn the useful things in school, or most of the time not at home. So we have to go for a journey for it, and saying stop for women and for girls is something what most of the women out there never learned. And it's the same with me. And when you begin to feel yourself, when you begin to make boundaries and saying stop with the hurtings and all the other things, I can become myself again. And I got my space back, and it's not over my body anymore. And this is something what I'm teaching others. And I also creating resilience methods. And one of my next books in German and later in English, it's about eating disorder. And I'm working with a lot of people. And therefore, I could create a lot of resilience methods with my research center and also with my health and nutrition lab. And that's what I'm doing next to it. And it's more.
And so you're writing. Did you say you're writing the book next week?
No, I'm for many years. I'm writing books already. I'm also an international bestseller and all the things. And I created. I think I began 2017. Finally. Dreams come true, and I begin with my book series called The First Aid for the Soul. Actually, it's the first basic book in English already, and the other ones I'm looking for every single book what I'm publishing with the series. I'm looking for experts in this field so that we can create together something greater, but what is very low threshold, because I touch topics which a lot of people don't want to talk about, but they are still here. It's the same with dying, with the terminal care, and also one with Asperger's and also domestic violence, because I say, okay, the topics are here. We have to find solution. We have to find for people something that they can help themselves. And most of the time, those topics no one want to talk about. And I said, okay, then or to go to a therapist is something, it's taboo too. I don't know as in your country, but in Austria, going to a therapist is like, no, you can't do that. Are you crazy? This is why I said, okay, let's find something what is very low threshold, so people can buy it anonymously. And therefore, that's why what I'm doing next to a couple of other things.
Nice. So there are so many things that are just so taboo that we can't talk about. And so being able to have that opportunity to have those discussions, and that's one of the reasons why I like chatting with wisdom, because whoever the guest is gets to choose the topic that we actually get to talk about. And so and a lot of times, sometimes those conversations are not things that we're having at our kitchen table, because it's not something that we want to. And here in Canada as well, like mental health is definitely still taboo. Although that's my background and that's what it is that I have been doing for many years, is that I've been that therapist that has helped others. But it's like, don't let people know that I'm coming, and I don't want people to know that I'm having some difficulty with my mental health, or that I'm having some issues, or that I want to be able to talk about grief. We now have a death doula in the community, which is wonderful, because she allows those conversations to be able to be had. So it's but it's challenging. It's difficult for us to have those those things. And so like, even when you talked about grief, some people believe that you're supposed to go through A, B, and C, and then everything's good and there's no more grief.
Yes.
Whereas I've worked with people over the years that it's sometimes it takes a few years, sometimes it takes even longer than that, depending on what it is that's going on for them and how it is that they're coping and what it is that, and so there really is no norm. And there really is no normal as to what that's supposed to look like. But that kind of goes back to the language that you were talking about of, oh, these certain things are supposed to be happening, right?
And also, we never learned it. And for me, it's like writing or doing terminal care open up so much wisdom, so much insight about living. And I'm like, why is it a taboo topic? I mean, with COVID-19, it came in such a spotlight and everybody's like, oh, what is that? And I'm like, what? It's just normal. That's why we're alive. And just so many people they're not truly living because they don't think they will ever die. And I'm like, I nearly died 4 times. And that's why I have a different view on it. And I'm like, bring it on the table. And for me, it's like hearing that there are death doulas out there. I'm like, yes, it's so important. It's the same importance than birth doula. And by the way, historically, the doulas did both before. And we just separated again. And I'm like, no, it has to come together. And it's a part of living, and it's a part of something different. And I have one woman, and she's actually teaching about death. And she's, for me, one of the most funniest and happiest person I've ever met in my life. And I'm like, when you're in peace with loss, when you're in peace in being too perfect, when you're at peace with death, then you truly can begin to live.
Yeah.
And that's one of many reasons why I'm doing so much, because I know what it means nearly dying. And writing all those books, especially the eating disorder, it took me actually 2 years writing it, because every time when I write on this book, and I'm writing a couple books parallel, because I cannot focus on one book, because I always have to cry with the eating disorder, because it's so beautiful. And I know the methods I create are so hands-on. So when you read it, you can use it right away. And this is something what I wish myself I would want to have 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And one of my missions is actually, and that's why I'm going international more than ever, is like, I just wanna tell out a lot of people, you're not alone. And the feeling of loneliness, that I'm the only one who have this challenge and no one is there, and everybody's laughing at myself that I have those challenge, because I'm not perfect, because I'm talking about my challenge and not being some kind of I have no idea thing. It's like, yes, it's the same with depression. It's the same with burnout. I don't know how's it in Canada, but in Austria, the burnout rate just raised tremendously due to this challenge at this time. And even with kids. And I was like, in the age as where the kids were, where I'm like, I don't know, are the challenges so different now, or are they more high sensitive, or are they so, I don't know, pampered before? I have no idea, but they are still here. So we have to find something for them to teach them to react or act differently what we got taught before.
And it's like there's just so many more demands on the kids. At least it is in Canada. I'm not sure what it is like in Austria, but like kids, when I went to school and I was in JK and SK, so pre-kindergarten, and so that's 4 and 5, is that we went to socialize and play and interact. And now they need to learn how to read. Like now they need to know how to write their names. Like those are things that we would learn in grade 1. And the things that I was learning in grade 3, the kids are now or the things that I was learning in grade 8, the kids are now learning in grade 3. Like there's just lots of much higher demands, and it makes things a lot more challenging for kids. And by making it more challenging for kids, it also makes things more challenging for the parents, because as the kids get more stressed and as the kids get more, the behaviors change. And like, there's just so many things that kind of impact all the different things. And in the last 18 months, in the last 2 years, with everything that's been going on with COVID, it has been challenging, to say the least. And I'm not sure how things have been for you guys, but for us, we don't know from one week to the next if we're going to be locked down or if we're going to be back open again, or if we're going to be. And that has been very challenging. And that is like not just for small businesses like myself, but also for like just the community at large. Like, the kids don't know what it is that they're supposed to be doing. They don't know if they're going to school or not going to school. They don't know if they're supposed to wear their mask or not wear their mask. They don't know what it is that they're supposed to be doing, where and how. And things have changed drastically across our entire country, that from one province to the next, you don't even know what the rules are. So we are close to the one border, and we have to try and figure out, okay, so what are the rules if we cross over the border? Or what, like, is it the same as here, or is it not the same as here? Or when they're crossing over here, like, what are the rules for them? Like, are things different for them? And there's just all these things that make things a lot more difficult for us to be able to try and function.
Yes, and the part of security, the part of something like the rules and also rituals, they went away. It's like, but I say for more than 5 years already, the world what we have today, we won't have the next 10 years. And we're in the middle of one of the biggest change in history. Yeah. And I'm a very positive person, even after 4 times nearly dying, maybe because of that. It's like, but we can see it as one of the biggest changes and chances and possibilities to begin completely new. And I'm like, I learned, I'm an auntie of twins. And the first year, I was like a second mom. And I always say I learned more from the babies and from children than I ever learned from all universities and further education they did. And they did a lot. And I'm like, this is, we forgot because of the big pressure, what you said before, like in Austria, it's the same. They learn so fast, and they have to learn way much more than what we had to learn. And the part of being a child and allowed to love, allowed to be childish, allowed to have no worries, went for some reason away in the same, like the movement. I don't know. The first thing what they cut was sport in school. And I'm like, and everybody is now wondering why why the children are so uneasy, and why the children have like ADD symptoms. And I'm like, just let them play. Just don't give them so much sugar. Just let them be a child and not a small grown-up. And
that's one of the things that we see a lot with the kids, isn't it? That they become small grown-ups, right? Yes. Like, I often have, when I'm with clients or I'm with other family members or friends that have children, is like the kids will be having, it's like, well, what's that? And it's like, it's okay. It's adult conversation. You guys go and play. You don't have to be worried about the things that adults have to worry about. That's adult stuff. And there's no, I see that there's no division. I'm not sure what it's like for you guys, but like, there seems to be no division. Kids are worrying about stuff that adults are supposed to be worrying about. They're worried about, like, how's the food going to come on the table, and what's going to happen if mom and dad don't return back to work, and are we going to be able to continue to live in our home? And like, those kinds of conversations are things that these kids are having, not only with other adults, but with each other, right? They're having these conversations with each other as well.
But it's so interesting when you see at the development science, the first 5 to 7 years, the children don't separate if it's their topic or really for the grown-ups, but it shaped their identity. And this is what I always mean with health framing and the wordings. Everything what they get into it, they take it one-to-one for their own living and personality, and everything has to do something with them and all the guilt. And when they don't have enough food there, it's their fault. Or when the school is closed down and mom is worried about something, it's their fault, and all the things, and it shapes them. Yep. And I'm so worried. I don't want to say word. It's probably not the best word for it, because children have a really good resilience as child, but it's like we have no idea about the further damage what COVID-19 does to the children, what the mask does to the children and the babies, because they don't see nothing from the face.
Yeah.
They have no idea about the expression. What's about the other person? What is it harming me or is doing good with me? Because I only see, like this. And there are so many challenges coming up the next years regarding children. And in Austria, we have a phenomena at the moment, because a lot of phenomena. It's
What's
like
that?
really interesting. It's like interesting because a lot of parents give their kids out of the school. They begin with homeschooling,
Oh, yes.
big time. In Austria, they're allowed to. In Germany, it's not allowed to. And this makes other new challenges for the family, especially for women, of course, again.
Yes.
And yet, is it a good idea or not? I don't know. I love homeschooling because our school system is actually coming from Joseph II, so it's around 200 years old, and it has to have revival and recycling, upcycling actually. And so I don't see it as in a bad way, but the more expenses, the more time consuming and all the things, the whole system is changing. And I'm always looking on the system part, or the view of a systemic, or the group dynamic. And so there will be a huge change in there, because maybe one parent has to stay at home because of homeschooling. So maybe they get less money because they can't work anymore, and especially for single moms. So there will be a lot of different challenges. Is it possible to make all these changes? Yes, of course. But the question is the how. The question is who. And the question is maybe, and this is so interesting in Austria because it begins at the moment, there are new groups becoming, going up and up. So maybe one is actually a teacher, but does now homeschooling for all the other ones. So the system itself changes, and the normal state system has to change, of course, too. And also, at the moment we have short work, and it's beneficial on the state. So the state is funding it. So when the funding of the state is over and out, there will also be a huge change in the economy. Is it good? We don't know. Was it necessary for the big change? Yes. And what if we all get kicked out of our imprints, of our views, of our beliefs, of our values, what we get conditioned and learned from others, from the school, from parents, what is happening with us? And there are so many people who truly begin to live their life, to see all the death now in front of them, what is actually was there before too, but now in the media and everywhere, and they begin to rethink what living could be or should be, and that they begin to finally chasing for their dreams.
Yeah.
So in every single chaos, there can be something new. Is it better? I don't know. But I see that the people blossom up. I like it. And there is one thing what and I have to say, I'm actually an introvert person, and for myself, I'm a research nerd, so I love being on a university and do research. Since COVID-19, I'm going out and be international, connect with so many people, and also with you. So I'm so blessed having you from Canada here, and just exchange what is happening in your country, in my country, and see same things and same challenges, so we can nurture each other. So if there's anything positive out there, then it's exactly this one, and I like it.
And the networking has been incredible. So like the ability to be able to network with with women around the world has been incredible.
Yes.
And it's always been there. So I've been doing these things for a few years, but like the extent of it has been just so overwhelming in terms of like where things are coming from, what it is that's going on. And there's like this program that you can do online and this program that you can do online and this connection that you can have. And it's just, it really is remarkable how technology has played a huge role in how to be able to do these things. And I know that when I first started going online, and it was back in 2015. And so when I started 2015, it was just kind of, and I know that it was already there but there were still lots of changes, but just in the last 2 years, the things have like completely exploded in terms of what it is that's going on. And so like, I know like Zoom is probably a really good example, is that I've been using Zoom for the last 5 years. And so for me, it wasn't anything new, but yet when all of the world shut down, it was like Zoom became overpowered with all of the different things, and they couldn't keep up. And so like even just being able to have a Zoom meeting made it so that it was really challenging. We didn't have the same resolution, we didn't have the same, like all these things, because they couldn't keep up with the things. And I know that they've changed and they've upgraded and they've done a lot of different technological changes. And then, but then there was like the hacking of Zoom. Like that wasn't something that was being done prior to COVID. And so then they had to put in extra security systems. And so like, I know that for me, there was like, I've always paid for that extra to be able to have my Zoom encrypted. And so like now that's standard across the board. And but people who weren't paying for Zoom had like those different things. So like there's all these different changes that have happened to be able to help us get connected.
But how changes occur? Only because of chaos, because there's a need there's problems there. And that's why I always say there is something positive in everything. And for me, it's like we became a digital village. And this was a dream for me for years. I love to exchange and see all the differences and also similarities and also the same challenges. Even when we have different religion, different skin color, I have no idea something, and yet we are actually similar. And this is what I like the most. And for me, it's like seeing that we have chaos, that we have wars, that we have conflicts. I'm like, guys, talk to each other. And see that that the higher good, that we actually similar. Why do we fight for each other for I have no idea something? And this is what I like the most. And as more as I do my PhD research in health framing, I see that everybody of us has different frames. That's it. That's what we got conditioned. If we finally find our blind spots, and when you begin to listen to other people, what they're saying, which words they're using, you see which frames they're using. And I'm like, is it healthy or not? And how can we get together, find or actually meet each other, even when we have different framings, different values, and coming from different origins, and yet how we can nurture each other, because there's something what I truly believe in. It has always a reason why we meet each other, even for exchange or something like that, or going for coffee. And I have times I'm just sitting next to a person, and it was the best conversation ever, because we didn't talk. It was just nice.
Yeah. And it's just being able to have those connections, whatever way that looks like for us. And like you said, it does really frame the whole outlook on all the things that we have going on and what it is that we have happening. And so being able to have those connections and having those opportunities for us to be able to have those connections, like having these conversations. And although our audience is really quiet today, is that because it's not the typical normal time of the day, but when the replays happen and there starts to have those conversations and that communication, those are the kinds of things that actually stimulate our conversations. Those are the things that stimulate what it is that we have going on and what it is that we have happening. And so And like you said, all of that chaos, like change does come from chaos. And that is just so true. Like we can't fix something if we don't know that it's broke. And so
Yes.
until it becomes broken, we don't know that it's broken, and we can't change, and we can't make those adjustments and figure out how to be able to make those adaptations.
Mhm.
So
And there's one thing, like the Austrians, this is a wording, I don't know if in English, but I do my best. In Germany, calls Gemütlichkeit. The Austrians are very famous for being cozy, and let's have a beer, let's have a coffee together and an apple strudel and talk a little bit and just complain a little bit when you're in Vienna. And this is something we don't like change.
no,
Seriously, the human being don't like change. We like it comfy,
yeah,
but comfy doesn't make us brighter.
no,
Comfy is just nice being just, I even ate too much cake from my mom because she's really good making cake, and I took care of her in the COVID times. And I'm like, this is not a good idea. I'm just getting comfy.
yeah,
And as more as I see and reflect all the challenges from the other people, and working on my resilience and the books and all the things and the methods, and I'm like, okay, we have now the best time ever for change, but in the comfort zone you cannot change. Change comes from kicking out of the comfort zone.
yeah,
And if we need politicians or all the conspiracy theories or whatever out there to get out of our comfort zone and say, no, we want to have it differently, and begin to create something what we always wanted to create, and not when we are in pension, in
yeah,
retirement, and then it's okay. But most of the people, and that I truly believe COVID-19 made a huge game changer. A lot of people are either in the past in hurtings, or in the future with the fears.
yeah,
With COVID-19, we got forced being in the now. What are we doing now? Because the next day we have no idea if we have a regulation, if there's something new, if there's what, we had no idea. And I meet so many people, like even today, he said to me he didn't saw his parents because his parents are in another country for over a year. He's only going now for vacation, visiting his parents. He probably never did that before COVID. Because as a young person, you just want to visit everything else except your parents. And this is so. Yes, it was a challenging time. Yes, it made a lot of chaos, and we have the chaos still. If you only look in the media, but if you see, and especially it's so interesting with our neighbors, we just grew together. The neighborhood just grew together because the most important things, and even my dad and my mom told me out of memories of the war and post-war, is the most important thing in crisis that you be good with your neighbors. Because I'm at the countryside, and our neighbors are farmers. The farmers had the food. And this is so interesting because a lot of, when you're in times of crisis, another survival modus or another modus comes up, what is more important than ever. And yet, and this is so interesting, I've even read it today, there are a lot of people compensated with luxury goods buying in times of crisis. And that's why I always said we truly don't have a crisis, because when I believe we have a crisis, I only hear my father and my grandmother talking about the war.
yeah,
And we are blessed in Austria that we will still be in a peaceful country. And yes, we have challenges. Do we know how to handle it? No, especially not my generation. It's the first time there, and that's probably a huge reason why a lot of people are just having the pet strauss. What is there? There's a huge bird strauss. Is it the word for it? Which is giving when there is a crisis there, the head is going into the sand. Like
oh, ostrich,
yes, an
ostrich,
ostrich.
yeah,
I can't see anything. I can't hear anything. I
yeah,
can't talk anything. Modus. And yeah, that's one possibility, but definitely not the best one. The crisis is still there. So maybe we can
as soon as you stick your head back out again, it's still going to be
still there. You can go back, okay? Maybe. But after the third lockdown, even the Austrians get it that maybe another strategy would be a better reason or a better choice. And it's sometimes so interesting when you see people how they react on when there's something out there what they are not used to.
Yeah.
And this is the framing what we get. And for me, it's just the biggest change. Hey, people, just go out of your comfort zone. Come on, go out of your comfort zone. Let's do it. And what I ask a lot of people, who would you be without your beliefs and your imprints, what you got from others? And what is your biggest dream you always wanted to do since childhood? And I support so many people because most of the time it's something actually small, but as child is huge. And as grown up, you just forget it. But as grown up, you have the money to fulfill your dreams. And I do every single day something fulfilling my dreams because I have a bucket list. After the last time I nearly died and I had a really bad car accident 2015, I still have no idea how I survived without anything, truly anything. And the car was broken totally. I'm like, okay, now it's time. Every single day I do something for getting my dreams come true. And this is so fast that I stopped telling my mom what I'm fulfilling every single day because it's too much for her. And I have my own radio show. I get my own TV show. I get my own magazine. I bring out nearly every single month one book. And I'm really bad in writing, but I still do it because it's not about being perfect. It's about just getting your stuff out there.
Yeah.
And there are so many wonderful people who have the same vision and dreams. And it doesn't matter where they are on this earth. We are so connected through, as you said, Zoom or whatever. This is beautiful. And I found so many people who have actually the same vision like me. I want to have a holistic health care center, but built with sustainable materials and just giving also shelter for women who experience domestic violence. Is it coming true? Yes. Because it's just I'm working on it every single day. And this is something dreams can come true, but not from yesterday's hurting, nor from the future fears, but being in the now.
And being in the now. And so one of the things that I just shared in the comments, just because I can't believe that we're already 40 minutes in, is that I added your link. So Inside Out Communications .academy, 50 Shades of Aha. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that is?
Yes. What should I say? I have sometimes a really childish thinking. When I see a lot of weird things out there, I'm like, and I'm actually coming from the communication science because my PhD is actually in communication science and also neuroplasticity and health economics. And for me, it's like seeing words like this. I'm like, I have to disrupt it. And so therefore, I just want to shake everybody and bring them out of their frames. So I created out of it actually truly came from COVID-19 because I wasn't so much traveling anymore. So I had a little bit more time. And I said, okay, aha is the most powerful word ever in my beliefs, because when you hear something and you just say, aha, it's like, I don't overtake the view of the other person, but I acknowledge that there is another view of something what I probably never thought about. And being in communication with others enlightens me always, always. Since childhood, I'm coming from a bakery. And since childhood, I was sitting next to our customers and I just listen. I love listen to other people we had alcoholics there and also who were not homeless but very alone and all the things. So I got a lot of different stories and I love to listen to the stories. But I don't have overtake any beliefs what they tell me. So and the 50 shades of aha only shows that you can see all the things what other believe is true or real, or the reality, or all the things you can see also a little bit different. So I begin to make different videos for different topics. I have it now on my YouTube channel. I don't have 50 yet, but when I see a topic who is kind of interesting, I just make one. And I even found people who sent me videos and giving me their ahas, because you can see different. And every single and we only talk about 3 letters, express something different. And every language is so unique, so beautiful. I mean, if you look about Chinese or Arabic or the Russian, we cannot read it, with our letters, but there is so much content in there, especially in the Chinese language. So in every single word, it's only a different combination of letters, nothing else. What we give the meaning behind those letters makes a difference.
Yeah.
And we only recognize if we know what this word means only because it's connected with the meaning. But if I would ask you what you think what health is, it would be way much different than what I believe health is.
Yeah.
And the only reason why we actually have communication difficulties, challenges, wars, is only because the people don't listen and the people don't ask. What do you mean about behind this word of, like, health has 6 letters? That's it. If we would shake this letter in a different way, we would have no idea what it means.
Yeah.
50 Shades of aha.
That's beautiful. So that's absolutely beautiful. And so the link is definitely in there. So if you guys want to connect with Bernadette, and also inside the description of wherever that you're viewing this or hearing this, because we are now on audio podcast as well. And so wherever it is that you're catching this information, then Bernadette's connections are in there. And so please feel free to reach out to Bernadette. And one of the things that I want to do as well before we head off is that I want to invite you to my Facebook group, where we get to continue having many conversations. And so if you want to join, currently it's called the Holistic Wellness Lounge, but it will be changing. We have a poll going on inside the group to be able to change up the name, to be able to make it more inclusive of the topics and the conversations and the modalities and the ahas that we actually get to be able to have an experience with each other. So, but I definitely invite you to join us inside the Holistic Wellness Lounge if you're not already in it. And come and join in the conversations, because as we have been shifting, so is some of the things that I've been doing as well. So we have the Chatting with Wisdom that gets shared inside the group, as well as it goes live in many different places. But we have a lot of different activities as well. So thank you so much, Bernadette, for joining us and sharing your wisdom with us today, and we look forward to having you join us again another time. So is there anything else you wanted to share before we head off, before we close off?
Yes, live your dreams. Live your dreams every single moment.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Yes. That is such beautiful advice to be able to close things off. So thanks again, everybody. And I will be back on next Wednesday at our regular time. And thanks everybody for adjusting during my time of trials and tribulations with the passing of my father. So thanks again, and talk with everybody soon. Bye for now.